you very much, Edwin. Welcome, and over to you for your presentation.
Thanks very much, and my apologies, technology challenges. So I'm just going to present about conservation tourism, the new normal. So as mentioned, my name is Edwin Wanyonyi. I'm in charge of strategy at Kenya Wildlife Service. And so what do we do? In KWS, we protect and conserve our biodiversity. We have 65 facilities across the country that ranges from national parks, reserves, and marine parks. And they segmented into premium parks, urban parks, scientific and special interest parks, sanctuaries, wilderness parks, mountains, and marine parks. Now, if you look at the way Kenya is, we've divided our conservation into 8 conservation areas. And in each of the conservation areas, we have a number of parks. We have 8 facilities in Western Conservation Area, 3 in Central Rift, 5 in Southern Conservation Area, and we have 3 in Mountain and 2 in Northern. You'll notice in the Salvo Conservation Area, that's where we have one of our biggest facilities, the Salvo National Park. So just from that quick preview, you notice that we have 4 marine parks, 4 national marine parks, so marine reserves, and then 20 national reserves, 22 national parks, and 3 sanctuaries. So when you visit our parks, what are the kind of experiences are you likely to have? You have wildlife viewing, and even for those who have a specific interest in bird watching, research conservation experiences. Now we're introducing and increasing experiences in translocation, ear notching, that were science-driven as experiences that you get to see what is done with our teams on the front. We have adventure parks, walks. We have filming from the best iconic places you can be able to visit. We have education and entertainment and volunteer tourism. And we have philanthropic tours that want to donate and support conservation. And of course, finally, we have cultural tourism. So if you look at, in terms of the offering, we have an exposure to different products and experiences. We also offer VIP safari experiences to all our customers. I'm sure you know Trump experiencing when visiting Nairobi National Park. And of course, there's an opportunity to visit the elephant and be part of their feeding program. We have species management and research tourism, particularly if you look at lion collaring, or you have ear notching, or you get all the experiences that go with science. So here you can see there is a collar on the lion, and on the right-hand side you can see the rhino horn being placed with a pin. Then there is elephant collaring as part of a research experience. That as a product that you can actually be able to participate. It's normally high adrenaline level experience in this process. We have unique parts and unique places that you can actually be able to visit. Amboseli, the home of elephants. The best picture view of Longonot can only be, not Longonot. Kilimanjaro is only viewed from Amboseli side. You get to have a very beautiful picture, being able to see Kilimanjaro. And interesting enough, we have elephants in Amboseli that have been studied over the years, and they are known all by name, by family, by how they came into the facility. You have an experiences in the Mount Kenya National Park. Of course, you know that we have majestic peaks, moorlands, and of course, Mount Kenya continues to be a very unique facility. And so we are lucky to be hosting it in Kenya. We have, of course, the canopy of natural experience, Kakamega National Reserve. It's an experience like no other, being in this natural forest, pristine the way it was created. Then we have, of course, Theatre of the Wild in Nairobi National Park, slightly less than 8 kilometers from the city center. You get to experience a national park so close. So we have quite an experience that in a few minutes, we're doing all the roads in the park so that you can easily access with whichever kind of vehicle, it's easily accessible to our guests. Then, of course, we have an experience, Roma National Park, which is in the western side of Kenya. Beautiful giraffes. You're able to experience tranquility and opening up of lesser visited parks and reserves. So it's also an experience that we have. For bird watchers, just giving an experience of Meru, you have an experience of like Nakuru National Park, with all these kinds of different birds species that you can be able to watch. And it's an experience you will not be able to get anywhere else. Of course, there's the cultural aspects of tourism. As part of our strategy in terms of engagement as Kenya Wildlife Service, we made sure that we continue to engage the community as we support conservation. And therefore, we have cultural activities that happen in our national parks, around the gates to our national parks, and with different activities with the hoteliers in the park. So one of the key pillars is community engagement. And we have very good, beautiful sunrises and sunsets in our parks that you can actually be able to experience as you visit the different parks. Of course, in everybody's mind today is COVID-19 pandemic. It's real, it's with us. So we actually, I think this clear indication from our wildlife that they missed the experience of visitation. So we're inviting you back to our parks, come and explore, come and experience the various offerings. And we have reduced the park fees. And this was critical because we wanted to make sure that we're connecting the customers and feel that even after or within COVID, because initially we said post-COVID, but it looks like there's no post-COVID. So even within this COVID environment, that what is it that KWS can be able to offer to the market? And so we've been able to reduce our park fees. You know that currently a visitation to our premium parks, Amboseli and Nakuru, they are $60. But from 1st of July, we changed that to $35. For Nairobi National Park, it's been $43 that we've changed $35. For the wilderness parks, we've changed from around $50 to now $30. And so that has actually been changed across all our parks to ensure that even as the guests begin to visit and even as you position the market, that you actually benefit from reverse rates across all our facilities. And this cuts across from all our non-resident guests, and we also have cut the rates for also citizens and the East African community members. One of the additional things that we have put in during this season is essentially promoting conference tourism. And therefore, initially for lodges within KWS, we never had this package, but we're now introducing a package that you actually get discounted rates, particularly for facilities within the parks, that if a conference is held within the park for more than 100 participants, you get a 30% discount. If you have 50 to 99 participants, you get 20% discount. and 30 to 49 participants, 10% discounts, and 20 to 29 participants, you get 5% discount. So again, this is an effort to try and promote and give a different experience that is discounted in terms of visiting. But beyond park fee reduction, there's something else that is now critical in terms of our parks. We now refocusing on plastic-free parks, understanding the effects of climate change to our conservation efforts, and trying to make sure that we are able to conserve our environment, both the marine, the savannas, and the mountainous places, and understanding that, of course, there's a traffic of visitors to our parks. We effectively from June, we've also begun the aspect of ensuring that our parks are free of plastic so that we protect our wildlife. And so we also been running this campaign, which is critical. So we also encouraging our visitors as they visit, that one of the things that we do is that ensure that you come with reusable containers. So we are not accepting into the parks single-use plastics. We would like to use more reusable containers into our parks. But just as I wind up, let me talk about the protocols now, because with the COVID, of course, one of the key things that has emerged currently is how do we make sure that when the visitor visits, what are the protective measures? How do we ensure that your experience is perfect? And how will you be able to access the facility? So what we have done is that, of course, as a standard procedure, all of us and the visitors must arrive wearing face masks. There is the aspect of ensuring that we maintain social distance, which is a requirement. And the social distance aspects cuts across, this is from our side, but even from the vehicles that are used by the tour operators, we have now designated numbers of visitors that can actually use the vehicles. And the rangers and our customer service officers on duty will be able to welcome the guest in from the gate. They will go through the normal process of washing hands. There will be a temperature check, and then they will proceed to the next step of being processed into the park. This is just a standard measure that we have adopted, and also a precautionary measure just in case of any eventuality, but just to also make sure that all our guests that come into our parks, at least for the preliminary, we make sure that we have been able to follow the protocols. So we have all these offerings in our parks, and we'd like to invite you to visit our parks and experience what we are offering. Thank you.
Edwin, great. Thank you very much for your presentation. But also so good to see Kenya as a lead with regards to single-use plastic around the world. If anyone does have any questions for Edwin, please do type these into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and I'll be able to pose these to Edwin, and he'll be able to address those questions. So if you do have any questions, please go away. So Edwin, thank you very much. It doesn't look like we've got questions going through. So to all the attendees, very grateful for you taking the time to attend. Please have a look out. The next in the series of the Kenya Tourism Board webinars is on 2 of their magical signature experiences, which is being hosted tomorrow afternoon. Okay, we've just got a couple of questions. Until when are the discounted park rates valid for?
Okay. The discounted park rates are valid for a year. So they are running from July 1, 2020 to 30th June 2021. Afterwards, okay, we will be able to review depending on the situation.
Okay, that's fantastic. So another question here, during such low numbers entering the parks, should you not have an incentive for kids below 16 or 12 going free?
Good question. We already had the discounted rates for children. As maybe I didn't mention, what we're continuously doing is continuously reviewing and looking at our product and our pricing. At the moment, that is not on the menu. But again, that's good feedback. We will be able to review that and see what are the opportunities for review for the other classes.
Okay. We've got another question here, Mohanjit. What animals does Kenya offer that are unique?
The uniqueness of Kenya is that we have different experiences in different parks. Of course, we are home to the big five. And from when you arrive into the city in Nairobi National Park, you're able to experience your rhinos, you're able to experience your lions, you're able to experience many giraffes, buffaloes. So in terms of wildlife experience, we have richness in wildlife experience. And depending on where you want to go, the big four, the big five experience, you want to experience the diversity of our birds, you want to experience the uniqueness from Nairobi National Park as an urban, you want to go to experience the Servos with a different offering. So each of the park is unique in its own way. So you'll be able to see different wildlife, you'll be able to engage with different communities. And just to mention at this particular moment, we also have some of the endangered and rare species. Just to mention that we have the Roma antelopes and the Servo antelopes that are facing extinction. We're also able to experience in Roma or Shimba Hills National Park. So we have a great variety of wildlife from the big game to the smallest game to bird watching.
That's fantastic. And I know that this presentation was very much tailored to an international audience, a global audience, as is the ATTA membership. But discounted entrance fees, do you have discounted fees for both citizens and residents? And if so, how much?
One of the unique things that we've done this time, actually the residents have become the biggest beneficiary of the reduction in our fees. We have removed the resident category and merged it with the citizen category. And therefore, visiting our parks, you end up in a situation where both the citizens and the residents pay the same rate. So there's a new revised rate for them. And so residents who are paying a little higher before now are benefiting from that arrangement. And that cuts across. Now, for East African community members, they are all now classified as citizens. So they enjoy the same rates as citizens.
Okay, so with the current lower rates, those are, you mentioned, valid through until the end of June. However, for selling for later on, so sort of peak season, July to December next year, what's your recommendation on the rates that you should be basing the park fees on?
Now, as per the law, we gazette, the Cabinet Secretary gazettes the park entry fees for a year. At this particular moment, it's too early to be able to say, even though we anticipate a significant shift in terms of our rates, based on the statistics that are now showing. But of course, all of us are watching the situation as it evolves going forward. And depending on how the situation is evolving, then of course, in the process of reviewing our rates, we always do engagement with our stakeholders. And so we'll be able to engage and then be able to provide the rate.
Great, thank you. And last couple of questions just before we wrap up. One is regarding the single-use plastic and bottled water. What's your recommendation to providing water for guests, ideally bottled water and everything, when you can't bring single-use plastic in? What's your recommendation there?
Okay, so understanding that there could be a guest who might arrive at the park without a single-use bottle, and appreciating that this is, of course, water is a basic need. What we have done is at the entrance of our parks, we have small curio shops that will actually have water on sale, and the use of the bottles that are not single use that can actually easily be accessible. So this can be purchased at the entrance of our facilities for ease. Okay.
We've just got two more questions. Do you have an update on fires in Salvo?
Yes. So the fires were put out finally. One of the issues that has happened recently is that these fires happen from outside the community areas towards the park. Previously, because it had rained before and there was a lot of grass which had grown, there was a lot of biomass. But of course, currently it's fairly very dry. And therefore, any small fire is able actually to grow much faster. However, I must appreciate the various teams that were able to put out the fires, from the community to the KWS team to our other government agencies. And so the fire was put out. And we anticipate that with the next coming of rains, you should be able to recover the area. But again, it's a conservation education program that we now engaging in that particular area to try and educate the communities outside and the dangers of starting fires during this season. But the good news is that it didn't go into the park deeply, and so in terms of area and effect, it's not been significant to the park.
Okay, that's wonderful. And we do have one final question, and I appreciate that this question is not directly related to KWS, so it might not be within your remit to be able to answer it fully. It's just regarding the rules and regulations with regards to quarantine. I know flights are international flights into Kenya are starting from the 1st of August, which is fantastic news. Are you able to confirm that no quarantine requirements are in place for tourists if they don't show any COVID symptoms or anything? If you're not happy to answer this, that's not a problem. I will be able to check this with a relevant source and confirm that for the person who's asked the question.
You're right on the second bit. I'm not able to answer that. Again, because that is a matter being handled by the Ministry of Health and the Airports Authority, so it's not within my purview.
So, Suzanne, to your question, I will investigate and reconfirm that information for you after this webinar. So, Edwin, and to all the attendees, thank you very much for your time. Please do keep an eye on the ATTA mailings. As I say, the next in the series of Kenya Tourism Board webinars is going to be tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. UK time. If you haven't yet registered, there is a registration link on the website. So thank you very much to everyone for your time, and we look forward to seeing you again on an ATTA webinar very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.